Hello, YouTube, and hello, Rhonda9 especially. This is a video response to Rhonda's Dispelling the Myth of the Devil. You brought up the adversary, and it reminded me of a piece that I wrote about in 1985. It's been updated a little bit because it needed to be, but it hasn't been published anyplace that I know about, and I really wanted to get this into YouTube. It's called The Adversary and the Promise. Two elements necessary for the manipulation of a people are an adversary and a promise. Political movements which sought to control the minds of masses of people always had both. The adversary has always been a nation, a group, or an individual on which all the woes of one's own national life could be blamed. In Hitler's Germany, the adversary was the Jews as a group. In America, at the same time, the adversary was Hitler and the Nazis. Later, to some extent, the adversary in America still is communism, or more particularly, Russians. Most recently, the threat of terrorism has been the primary adversary. Never more than today, fear of the adversary has always been used by political hierarchies to keep the people in line. For governments to maintain their power over generations or even centuries, they must be able to switch adversaries without losing a beat. Old foes may become friends and vice versa, but the adversary, as a concept, must remain. No less important in manipulating the masses is the promise. Hitler promised his people he would lead them to world dominance. Heute Deutschland, he said to them. Morgen die Welt. Today, Germany. Tomorrow, the world. As Roosevelt promised Americans that prosperity would result from a New Deal, and that they would gain the inevitable triumph over their enemies. Today, the Bush administration wants Americans to believe that only it can conquer the terrorist threat and deliver world peace, not to mention abundant oil. The adversary and the promise are even more important to religious hierarchies. The adversary, Satan, for example, backed by his vast army of demons, is seen as a tireless and eternal foe against whom one must fight constantly. Worse, one is taught to mistrust even one's own reason. Of course, the adversary is much too powerful for an individual to fight alone, so another great being must be implored to hold him off. This great being, whether known as Jehovah, Allah, Krishna, whatever, is presented to the masses as awesome, distant, and mysterious, unapproachable by ordinary human beings. Well, he can only be known through an intermediary, a priesthood. They are the ones who truly understand the nature of the adversary and the deity. They are the holders and administrators of the promise. They are the guides to the heavenly realm. Yes, Dorothy, a place where there isn't any trouble, where no one ever dies and everyone is unspeakably happy. And because they hold the promise, they hold power over masses of people who believe. For an individual, a political party, or a religious hierarchy to maintain power over a long period of time, it is necessary that the promised power, prosperity, protection, or savior be always on the horizon but never actually reached. In the case of a political movement, the realization of its goals would spell the doom of the hierarchy that achieved them, because a different sort of leadership, planning, and expertise would be required to maintain the ideal than was needed to acquire it. The same is true of religious movements. The moment the Redeemer, whatever he is called, comes, the hierarchy of intermediaries that proclaimed him and interceded with him on behalf of the masses would be rendered obsolete. Hierarchies of whatever kind do not want to be obsolete. It is in their interest that their goals never actually be achieved, and like the spring of Tantalus, remain forever visible to the masses, but just out of reach. I'm going to get this, try to hit finish and exit one more time and hope this actually works. This is the third time I've recorded this and it never got up. I do want to get it in here. I'd like to see, I'm glad that you're here to see it, and I'd like to hear what your comments might be. Thank you very much for listening.